What is up, everyone? It is KSACK with my boy Canes, KJ34, the best gambler on Twitter. The Canes and KSACK podcast is back, and this time we don't have a million games to run through and edit and get everything done in a short window of time. So we're just gonna have a normal podcast and talk about games while we're doing it. Canes, how's it going today, man?
Mm, just another day waiting for these games to hurry up. Want to text returning players transferred. I'm losing it. We're gonna suck again next year. It's chalked.
Well, there are a handful of hundred kids in the transfer portal, so maybe you guys can pick some of them up.
It's all right. We got Storm Murphy coming in.
There you go.
Wofford legend.
So, really, it's been a wild kind of day in sports with so many NBA trades. Is there any that kind of stuck out to you, Canes?
Uh, I think the Rondo trade was definitely interesting, just because I didn't see the Clippers giving up Lou Will, but it definitely could help with we know playoff Rondo, so like I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting the rest of the season. I don't know who's going to win with everyone injured right now, but if I had to put my money on someone right now, it'd still be the Lakers.
Yeah, I would. I mean, granted, it's hard to win back to back, and I think LeBron is a guy who can do it. But I agree with you about the Clippers. Like I was caught off guard, just thinking like that's a lot of offense you're giving up for past prime Rondo, who we know, like you said, is good in the playoffs. But beside the fact, I think Oladipo to the Heat was massive for them. He could be a difference maker to try and compete in the East. But what really stood out to me actually is the amount of picks that OKC has in the next 7 years.
I
Like,
was just thinking about that.
how are they gonna get rid of all the like? You got to think that they're gonna try and become a contender at some point in the next like 5 years because they have so many picks to trade away.
Dude, I think it's 17. I don't know if you know, but I am a Thunder fan, so like I embrace this tank. But I think it was 17 first and 17 second in the next 7 years. And that's like 5 picks a year when you're only supposed to have two. That is just insane. I think Presti is he's a genius in my eyes.
No, it's a great way to rebuild. The other thing, big news today. Jimenez from the Cubs or from the Cubs, the White Sox going down for 5 to 6 months. The Cubs were, or I keep saying the Cubs, man. The White Sox were supposed to be a powerhouse this year in the AL, so that's interesting. Speaking of baseball, though, Canes, I know you're a Red Sox fan. If you had to pick an early season winner, doesn't have to be a dark horse or anything. Who are you taking this year in the MLB
Mm,
to win it all?
if I really want to be basic and just follow all like what everyone else is saying, I think the Padres squad is insane. Like I really think they give the Dodgers not just a run for their money in the West, but also in the NL. Their rotation is 1 through 5. That's an insane rotation. I with the face of baseball Tatis, I don't know. I think it'll be tough to beat them, but the Dodgers they reloaded, so they're still gonna be nice too.
Yeah, it's hard to see anyone kind of competing with those two this year just because their rotations are so nasty. Um, I would love to see the Angels. They've put a lot better squad together out on the field for this year. I would like to see them get Trout like a playoff run, see what he could do with it. He just seems like I want to see him in the playoffs because playoff baseball is so fun to watch, and without the best player in the MLB in it, like year in year out, it just seems that the excitement factor isn't to what it could possibly be. But anyways, I'm a Tigers fan, so it's chalked completely. Like
Oh no,
the rebuilding process ever since Dombrowski basically just bought us a World Series appearance and then left. It's
I
just been
mean, did that with the Red
horrendous.
Sox too.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of that, like baseball isn't fun for me currently, but it's fun. It's fun to get it all kicked off with opening day and all that going on, and then we're gonna have. I mean, it's weird to have this week be so quiet with like you have so many games of March Madness on opening weekend with the round of 64, the round of 32, and then bam, it's like quiet. But there's NBA, there's the NIT, the women's tournament just started. you got all these different things going on in spring training just coming to a close here towards the end of the week. And it's so different though to see how big of an impact March Madness has and how even on like ESPN or any of the sports shows it's constantly being talked about and there's so many other sports going on still. But anyways, sorry for that tangent. What do you think? Just a recap of the first couple of rounds. Like, what are your thoughts? What are some overall teams that you were impressed by, disappointed by? Just give me some of the Canes, ideas for round one and two.
Well, I was definitely disappointed in a few teams. Illinois, I, I really thought they were gonna be like the biggest challenger to Gonzaga, but obviously not. Definitely impressed with Syracuse and obviously Oral Roberts, two of the double-digit seeds making the Sweet 16. I think that Oregon game they played against Iowa, that might have been like one of the best performances all season. That was just crazy. Like they put up 95, and they like usually are pretty like one of the slower teams. They just ran them off the court. I'm trying to think of some other memorable games. Definitely the Tech game. That was a heartbreaker, but that's to be expected as a Tech fan. What were some of the games or the teams that you liked in the first two rounds?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard not to root for the underdogs and just their stories and everything going on. But when I look at Oral Roberts and the way that they came back from double digits against Florida and they stuck around and beat Ohio State and held on, down the stretch after they came back in that game. Two, it's like, I mean, how much can they keep doing that? So I really was impressed though. Like they can shoot the hell out of the ball, and that's awesome to me for me to see because that's what we want to see. In the tournament and in NCAA basketball as a whole. I really do think that Gonzaga is still looking like the most unbeatable team. I was really impressed
Oh
with
yeah,
Baylor's first couple games. They played really well. Like I know we were on Syracuse both times. They made us a bunch of money. Buddy Boeheim and the boys are just lights out from three. That's fun to watch. Um, man, disappointment wise though, Illinois is obviously the one that sticks out to me. I think to me though, it was Texas Tech's game against Arkansas. They had so many chances to win that,
hmm
and I really think that they could have given. We've seen them play Big 12 teams close and beat a lot of the top dogs all year. I really think that they could have gotten potentially to the Final Four, and played Baylor obviously then in the Elite Eight if they moved on, versus Oral
yeah.
Roberts. But that was just my biggest disappointment, just seeing them go down like that. The other thing for me that really shocked me was the way that Oregon just ran Iowa. Iowa's a fast paced
Yeah,
playing team. Don't get me wrong. They score a lot of points, like 85 or 6 a game. How do you let a team who I know is athletic, but has a huge size discrepancy lower than you and plays at a similar pace just run you like that? Put up almost 100 points. It was just insane to me. Um, anyways, that's my wrap on it. I mean, Buddy Boeheim right now for me is player of the tournament along with Ace Miss from Oral Roberts.
yep.
I think you'll probably see that change a little bit as we get on to the Final Four because some of the big dogs guys are going to have a game or two here to move on. But man, it was a lot of upsets early, so that was fun to watch. Brackets are completely busted left and
Oh
right.
yeah, was not fun for my bracket.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've been enjoyed the games. There's not really been a ton of blowouts until a few of the round of 32 games late on Monday. But man, it's looking like a really really tough weekend to call. Like these games are really close coming up.
Oh yeah, I honestly like. I think I could be convinced on just about any game either way. Crazy.
Yeah, stat lines can do so much justice, and it's hard because you don't want to go away from what you know. Like me and Canes, we've been sitting here for hours looking at all these games and the stats and the analytics and the trends behind all these different teams, and you look at it. Really, it's who's gonna shoot the ball better, and who's gonna make their free throws down the stretch, because that's what we've seen game in and game out so far in this tournament and every tournament for that matter throughout the years. But without fans, this is a debate that I've heard a lot of people talk about, and I want to get your take on it. Without fans, who has helped more, the favored team, the big dogs, or the underdogs? What do you think is the effect with no fans on each side?
Huh. I'd say definitely like not in like the tournament setting, but uh, when uh when like back in conference play, definitely the away team because some of those atmospheres are crazy. I couldn't like imagine him playing like in Cameron during like a UNC Duke game. There's no way I could play for UNC. But in the tournament setting, I don't know. It's a little different. I think it almost helps the favorites more because like there's no home like court advantage. So definitely like with the crowds would be. Oh, I got this backwards. Sorry. It helps the favorites more because usually the crowds would be with the underdogs. In my opinion, I would think. So like Oral Roberts would get tons of support if there were just a bunch of neutral fans watching. But without that, I think it might favorite the favorites a little bit more. I'm
Yeah,
not sure. What do you think?
I'm in agreement. I think being, I've been to everything but a Final Four, and a championship game so far in my life for the NCAA tournament, and being at those atmospheres and just staying for however many games we're at that court for the day. It's interesting to see, unless the fans are there for their team, the rest of the stadium is truly for the underdog. They want to see the lower seeds win. And so for me, looking at like a Gonzaga, when they go up against Creighton or whoever's next after that, potentially, you're looking at them not having a million people screaming every time the other team scores. You're looking at them just being the more talented team in the matchup, and not having that extra factor that could play into their downfall. So I think it just takes out a potential, hindrance per se for the better teams, which is why one of my bets pre-tournament was under 4.5 Cs in the championship game, because I couldn't really see any big underdogs making a run. It was either going to be a 1, 2, 3 seed in the finals, and we're kind of seeing that play out. I mean, we still have like Loyola and a few other teams that I think could potentially get to the Elite Eight and maybe a Final Four if they play well enough. But yeah, for me, it's definitely the favorites. And for the most part, the really big dogs, we've seen that with just blowouts or easy covers, whatever it may be. They're not having a ton of stress. So, anyways, that's our wrap for the little podcast portion. We've never done it before, so came up with a few talking points. We'd love to get more ideas from you guys on what you want to hear. Like, we're willing to talk about anything. We're open books. And I know Canes has school and life and so many just little dumb stories to talk about. So I know you guys want to hear that, but we'll save it for an episode where we don't have 2 rounds to pick and talk about and break down. We're going to make it a little longer for you guys here, so we're going to get into it. First game, Sweet 16. It's getting into it. We got the Saturday games and the Sunday games. We're going to go through them all here, no order. We're just going to go through them. Our first matchup we're going to talk about, I know this is one Canes was looking at close, and it's a tough call. The Ramblers from Loyola versus Oregon State and the Beavers. It's a 6.5 spread. Give us a little rundown. What are your thoughts on that game, Canes?
Uh, I mean, I think Loyola is probably the deserving favorite. Definitely impressive against Illinois, but I'd almost argue Illinois sort of lost the game. Like, don't get me wrong, Loyola was fantastic, but Illinois really just never got it going. Really played a sloppy, terrible game, in my opinion. So I think it opened a little bit too much at 6.5. I think it should be closer, maybe 3 or 4. And also, Oregon State defends very well from the three. I think it is about 24th in the nation at just 30.1%. I think that'll be a big factor in this game because we've seen 3-point shooting has definitely been pivotal for teams trying to pull off upsets and ultimately win in this tournament so far.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me about Oregon State is they're hot. Like I said, there's factors that you can get the analytics, the stats. They've won 8 of their last 9. The only loss is to Oregon, who we saw just run the crap out of Iowa, and they basically ran through most of the Pac-12 this year too. Um, the other thing for me, and I said it earlier, free throws, shooting, I also really like good rebounding teams. Oregon State almost 15 free throws a game this year at 76%. Fantastic. Oregon State in their
It's a lot of
last
free points.
in both tournament games, 40 rebounds at least in both games. And with that, they're holding opponents to under 40% field goal shooting. We saw them just locked up Oklahoma State and not let anyone have a good shot. And they're doing this. They've turned the ball over 14 and 17 times in those 2 games and still have double digit winning margins. It's like, what's going to stop these guys at this point if they're shooting so well and getting so many rebounds and still turning the ball over and running these power five, like just big teams, Tennessee and Oklahoma State, by double digits? I really think that it's, Crutwig and those guys are playing fantastic. Their defense is locked down. I think it's going to be closer than people think, though, and I do agree with you. The 6.5 was a little bit much for me. So I mean, go ahead, give us the best bet that we're taking on this one, Canes. All right, I'll go with it. Anyways, 6.5 points. Oregon State. We're gonna take Oregon State plus the 6.5. Anyways, we're gonna trust the hot shooting, the hot hand from Oregon State, and from there we will go into the next game. The next game is gonna be. Let's look at it here. Hold on, we're having a little technical difficulties with Canes. Canes, can I hear you?
Hello?
Yeah, I got you. We're back. We're back. All right, he's back here. Um, all right, next game. Sorry, I wrapped it up. I gave him Oregon State plus the 6.5. I know you like that. We're both on it. We're just gonna get into Baylor versus Villanova. I'll start it off. No Colin Gillespie is one of the biggest things for me in this game. Baylor is
Mhm.
known for strong guard play. They have Maceo Teague, they have Davion Mitchell, they got Jared Butler. All these guys are going to be NBA players. And to add to that, they got the stretch for Matthew Meyer just running the table with that mullet. Like he's shooting lights out from everywhere on the floor and just playing at a high level. You're looking at this Baylor team who shot 48% from the field on the year, shot 41% from three on the year, and really like they only give up a couple like six threes a game. And Villanova's really focused on the three. They ran North Texas because they made 15 of them. If you're shutting that down, I think it's gonna be tough for Nova. But anyways, what are your thoughts on it, Canes? Add a little bit for me.
No, I definitely agree with the 3 point shooting. Also, like another thing I want to mention that Villanova does struggle a little bit from guarding the 3 point shot. They've on the year they allow about 35% from three, which is not the worst in the nation, but it's definitely bottom half. So like I think that's definitely one of the advantages that Baylor has in this game, and definitely could lead to them covering and like ultimately winning. I think I think they've looked solid their first 2 games as well. So like I have no reason to believe that they won't show up in the Sweet 16 against Villanova.
Yeah, I'm a complete agreement. And like I said, no Colin Gillespie. It just really makes the backcourt for Villanova lack any type of substance to contain Baylor's guards. And Baylor's guards are going to be able to easily contain Villanova's guards. I think Robinson Earl is their only saving grace, and it's going to be tough on him with the lack of guard play. So, anyways, we're going to go with Baylor minus the 7 in that one. Max Meyer or Matthew Meyer, have a freaking game, my guy. Let's move on. The 15 seed, they made it. They're here. Arkansas, Oral Roberts minus 11 is the spread. Tell us what you think, Canes.
I think so. We've seen Oral Roberts has definitely been able to take down these talented teams from the Big Ten and SEC as well with Ohio State, Florida. But at some point, I think the talent just has to override them here. And one of the ways I think that will be exposed is the rebounding. Arkansas has a big advantage in this game. They average a 3.5 rebounding advantage margin against their opponents, while Oral Roberts comes into the matchup at a minus 4.6 rebounding margin. I think ultimately that will be way too much for Oral Roberts to handle because they won't have. They're obviously not going to be as big as a Power Five team, and I think Arkansas could definitely eat them alive on both sides of the glass, which could be a struggle for our Cinderella story. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, we saw Florida really start to run them. Like they were on the track to just like cruise, and it was because Oral Roberts couldn't grab a rebound. Like it was offensive rebound layup, offensive rebound foul. Like Florida was just hitting him on the glass like crazy, and Arkansas is bigger than Florida. Like Arkansas, people don't realize has a crap ton of length, and they also, like you said, they have that rebound margin. Oral Roberts is one of the worst teams in the country in allowing offensive rebounds. Like it's just gonna catch up to them, like you said. And I think the other big fact for me is Arkansas forces 15 plus turnovers a game on 8 steals. Steals lead to points off turnovers. Oral Roberts is going to struggle with that length. And I really think that this is the first team that they played that can D up. Ohio State, not a great defense. Florida, we saw bang average defense. You're looking at Arkansas, top level athletes, top level defense, great rebounding. Oral Roberts is literally going to have to shoot like 50% from three to have a chance in this game. And they're going to have to shoot a lot of them. So I love A.
Yep.
Smith. I love O'Banor. They're great players. But I really do think Justin Smith, Jalen Tate are the best two players in this game. They're the best prospects. They're the best athletes. I think that this is going to outweigh. But anyways, it's 11 spread. Who do you think takes it, Canes?
I think we got the Razorbacks in this one pretty handedly.
All right, you heard it. Best bet. Arkansas Razorbacks minus the 11 is what we're taking. I know you love him. He's been lights out. Buddy Bayheim. Syracuse Orange versus the Houston boys out of the AAC. I know that it's good. It's Houston, man. They shouldn't be here. I mean, that game
Oh
against
no, no, no!
Rutgers, it was over, and then Rutgers just sat down and stopped playing basically.
What a choke!
Well, I mean, I know we've been on Syracuse both games. They've really helped us out with some plus money on the money lines and the plus points in each game. Give me a little rundown. What do you think is going to determine this game?
I think I think a thing that the teams against Syracuse struggle with is definitely the zone defense. Definitely don't see it much anymore in college basketball. So it could throw a curveball in Houston's game plan, but they weren't a 2 seed for no reason. They've definitely got the talent to beat a zone. It's easy to beat, but a lot of teams can't do it for some reason. But I think that'll be an interesting matchup in this game. What are your thoughts?
I yeah, I love. I mean, both teams are good teams to watch. Like they both have great things about them. Houston's rebounding margin is like 9 a game positive. They're insane at like they just don't give up offensive rebounds, and I think that's like obviously a zone is really hard to rebound in. And I know they got Dolage in the length, and and Syracuse has defended well because of their length and just how good they've rotated on the zone. The rebounding has killed them though. They've gotten out rebounded in both games, but we haven't seen them lose with a rebounding disadvantage. So that's another thing. I mean, they're hot as can be right now. 14 and 15
Yep.
threes in each of the games. Like, how do you beat that? Like, we saw, like I said, Villanova 15 threes win. Like, if you're making 14, 15 threes in a college game, the game's over. Like, you're winning that. And if they keep that up, they're going to. But the biggest thing for me about this game Zone Syracuse likes to play it slow. They don't want to be in transition basketball. That's not the way they play. Houston is awful against slow paced teams. They're 325th in Ken Palm's adjusted tempo, which means that they're in the bottom like 30 teams when they're playing a slow paced team. And for me, Syracuse is just going to make this a boring game from them. Houston throws up almost 30% of their shots are threes in their possessions. I just think they're going to chuck up bad shots and it's going to help Syracuse out. So for me, and I know we already talked about it, but Syracuse plus the 6 is going to be a close game. Houston may pull it out in a tight one. You see them pull out tight ones all year. When they're struggling, they're down late, they somehow find a way to come back. But Syracuse plus 6, I do think they win outright, but I'm just playing the points. Syracuse. Let's see Buddy Boeheim do it again. All right. We're
Fine.
on to our favorite though. They got us the really tight cover last week. We went 7-1 on Monday. Gonzaga helped us out with that. It's Gonzaga. It's a 13.5 point spread against Creighton, who also played a really great offensive game against Ohio. What do you think?
Um, I don't know. It's tough to bet against Gonzaga. They've looked so good their first two games. A little shaky to start the Oklahoma game, but there's never really a doubt. But the Norfolk State game is definitely impressive, winning by 40 something, however much they won by. But I think sort of touch on what you said earlier when like Gonzaga just playing ball, no fans, no atmosphere. I think they could run any team in the country by 20. I think I don't know. It's tough again to bet against them in this one.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you just gotta look at their roster. It's just so freaking deep. Like, they have
It's
so
so
they
deep.
have so many players who can just flat out play. And you've seen
Yep.
both their games, the teams come out shooting, man. Like Reeves had like 12 points in the first like 2.5 minutes of that game. Like they come out and people are just throwing haymakers at them. You saw BYU in the Western Conference Finals or the West Coast Conference Finals just throw up 69% from the field from three in the first half and have a 12-point lead like it was nothing. And Gonzaga, the biggest thing for me about them is they never lose composure. These men
No.
could be down 25 points and they really do truly believe that they're way better than anyone they play against and they show it day in day out. Um Zagorowski and uh I'm forgetting his name, but the stretch 5 from Creighton, they're really good players. They can't defend. Like there's just no defense being played
Yep.
from Creighton, and it's been their downfall all year. They lose these games they shouldn't lose because they can't defend. You have to be able to defend against the best offense in the country. Even if they're having an off day, Gonzaga, I think they put up 80 points on Creighton, 85 points on Creighton, and you can't win when you're giving that up. So for me, it's a no brainer that Gonzaga wins. Now the cover is where it gets a little shaky. 13.5 in a Sweet 16 is just unheard of. Like we see 11 for Arkansas. That's a 2 or a 3 versus a 15. You're looking at a 1 versus 5 here. It's like there shouldn't be
Yeah.
that much discrepancy, but that just goes to show.
Crazy.
I mean, Jalen Suggs hasn't even had a good game yet. They're cruising. Kispert, he shot good, not fantastic. We've seen him at high levels. Timmy is running into form right at the right time. I mean, Ayayi, like they're all playing well, so they're not. I mean, none of them are like just crap in the bed, but I mean, I think we got to take Gonzaga. What's the bet though? Give us the rundown. Best bet.
I think we're gonna take Gonzaga spread at minus 13.5. The one more thing I want to mention about them is the crazy thing. All those players you mentioned can just drop 25 like on any night. It's insane the firepower they got.
Oh yeah, and when you have balanced scoring, it just makes you harder to beat. But, anyways, best bet. You heard Kane say it. Gonzaga minus 13.5 for that one. We're gonna move on to the 1 seed versus a 4 seed. This is one of the matchups of the weekend, in my opinion. We got the Wolverines of Michigan without Isaiah Livers playing Florida State. The Seminoles, man, Florida State played a good game against Colorado. They defended the
Yeah,
crap out of them.
really had to ruin our Monday.
Michigan really was shaky, and without Isaiah Livers, you're seeing a little bit more of a struggle in the offensive flow. There's just a little bit easier to defend them. But hey, they're still one of the best team in the country, and they've proved it. I mean, they beat all the top teams, but they did lose to my Spartans in last week, and that's kind of disgusting for them because Michigan State is not good this year. Anyways, Florida State 3-point spread. Michigan's the favorite. The thing that sticks out to me is Florida State holds opponents to 39% from the field and 32% from three, which is above average as well. But when you're holding teams to 39%, they can't really score that. Like, it's hard to get up good shots, and they're pretty equivalent in the rebounding margins and the rebounds per game. It's all pretty similar. I just see the pace really like the advantage goes to Florida State with the pace. Without Isaiah Livers to slow down and control the game, I think you're seeing Eli Brooks step up in a good way because he is the senior leader on that team. But you're seeing a lot of freshman moments from Michigan. Hunter Dickinson, dumb fouls, dumb shots, not asking for the ball enough because he is their best player right now. Why don't you ask for the ball constantly? And why don't you tell coach, like, hey, get me the ball, I'm getting buckets? He just disappears for 8 minutes of the game. You saw LSU almost start getting up to 10, 12 point lead because he's just not there. Like, they're just chucking up threes, living like it's a typical Michigan live or die by the three. When you had all these great tournament runs, is because they were hitting 40-50% from three in all these tournament games. But against a team like Florida State, you're just not going to get those shots. You have to get a lot higher percentage shots. And also, you're looking at just an absolute size discrepancy. I mean, top to bottom, Florida State, their smallest guard is 6'4", 6'5", MJ Walker. Like, everybody else is like 6'8" to 7 foot. Like, how is Michigan? You have Dickinson at 7 feet, and then really it falls off. I mean, Wagner's tall but not as athletic. Like, I don't know. For me, Florida State has the advantage here. Michigan might have a little bit of the shooting advantage because Florida State takes a lot of high quality shots around the rim. From 3 point, they shoot a good solid percentage, but they don't make a lot of them. But anyways, I want to get your thoughts. I rambled. I've seen both of these teams a lot this year, but go ahead. What do you think about
Yeah, you're fine. I know you want to take your shots at Michigan.
it?
Um, I definitely agree on like the size here. Since I'm a Hokie fan, I do watch a little bit more ACC hoops than the other conferences, just because that's what's on TV most of the time in Virginia. But I think a lot of like teams have struggled with Florida State's size because I mean, usually in college basketball, you don't see like these big bodies like Gray 6'8", Barnes 6'9", uh, Prefika 7'1". I mean, they're like towers out there. It's crazy, but they do have Wagner and Dickinson, so they might be able to offset that a little bit. But I don't think it'll be enough to counter just all these bodies that Florida State can throw at you. So I definitely do agree that'll be a big mismatch for Michigan to take on in this game.
Yeah, I just think that Florida State's depth just I mean, you mentioned the size and I mentioned it too, but they got 10 guys averaging at least 12 minutes a game. Like, at that
Yeah,
point, you're just literally a rotating just chaotic press. I mean, you've seen defense win these games in the tournament. And like I said, shooting's the biggest thing, but if you can't shoot, if you're Michigan and they're holding you to bad shots and you're not making them, if you get down enough, it's hard to come back in a tournament setting. So for that reason, depth, size, defense, pretty equal rebounding. I gotta go with the Florida. I picked them to go play in the Elite Eight in my bracket, and I gotta stick with it. Florida State plus the 3 points. I think they win it outright. I think the value is with the underdog in this one, so we're gonna go with them.
yeah, definitely agree.
A really, really interesting matchup. Alabama versus UCLA. Both teams cruised. in the round of 32. Not much. And granted, they were both playing a lot lesser teams.
Hmm.
Give me a rundown.
I think one of the obviously Alabama loves to shoot the three, play fast. UCLA does struggle a little bit against the three. They allow about 34%, which is 213th in the nation. So like definitely below average, but shouldn't kill them. But another thing I want to look at is there's a contrast to pace. Like I said, Alabama likes to get out, play fast, shoot the three ball, but UCLA does like to slow it down a little bit more. So I think Alabama should be able to push them outside their comfort zone, and they can struggle against the faster pace of the Crimson Tide in this one.
Oh, I'm in a complete agreement. I think a couple key stats for me is the rebounding. UCLA definitely not as much size in depth and size as Alabama. Alabama averages about five more rebounds a game. Alabama also defensively they've been stifling. I mean, 15 turnovers a game this year is unheard of for an Alabama team, and that's just something that you put to their culture. And UCLA, when they do lose, does struggle with turnovers. So I think that'll be something to watch. Alabama, their defense, like 40% from the field, 29% from three. I mean, a hot UCLA team, you got to think that it slows down a little bit as they go on, and especially against a long, good defense. I think the difference maker here, though, is Tiger Campbell has not been playing his best game at the point guard spot. I do think he is a great point guard and has the potential to be a really good player moving forward, but Quinterly has been fantastic. Shooting the ball, not so much, but 11 assists last game. Like, he's just distributing as good as he has all year when he's been healthy. And Shackelford and Petty are shooting like 45-50% from three in the tournament. And they're just continuing what was a historic 3-point shooting year for this team. And I was looking to see a little regression into the tournament with nerves and everything from Alabama and their shooting, but they just haven't. They just keep going and they have the depth to just throw more and more people out there until someone gets hot. They just feed them. And you're seeing Quinterly be able to do that, and you're seeing them be able to defend and rebound enough to hold teams at bay so they can just run them out of the gym. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough game for UCLA in my opinion here, but give them the best bet, Canes.
We're gonna take Alabama. I think it was 6. Is that right?
Yeah, 6, 6.5. It's moving
Yeah.
up and down a little
So,
bit, anywhere
yeah,
in there.
right around there.
Cool. Alabama -6, 6.5, whatever you got, take it. We're taking it at -6 is what we got it at earlier. So last game, it's the one that everyone's like, who are we supposed to pick here? It's just an insane game. The Trojans of USC versus the Oregon Ducks. Both teams were hella impressive in round of 32. I mean, Oregon for not playing and running out of the. I already talked about it as one of the most shocking games of the tournament for me so far. But my God, they looked like they can't miss. And also,
Oh no.
you have USC holding a good Kansas team to 50 something points and running them out of the gym like it's nothing. Like, I just, to me, it's a freaking insane matchup. Pac-12 is shown out. Give me a quick,
Oh yeah.
give me a quick couple stats of who you think's gonna do well. What's gonna be a factor?
Like you said, I think both teams are definitely coming in this matchup hot. But one thing I want to look for in this matchup is for USC to be harassing on the defensive end. They have the best 2-point field goal percentage in the country at just oh, I lost my number. Sorry about that. But they also overall from field goal percentage they have the 5th best in the country. So they should be able to like just create tough shots for Oregon, who've shown they can hit them against Iowa, but I don't know. It should be a little bit tougher against the Trojans in this one.
Yeah, and I mean Iowa had Iowa. Everyone was talking about how good their defense was the last 4 or 5 games, but on the season they were giving up like 75 points a game. So it wasn't like they were a good defense. They just had like one or two, 3 games where teams weren't shooting very well. There's a big difference there. And I don't think a lot of people pointed that out, which is why we took the Ducks last round. And obviously it was a sweat free winner. But to me, it's Evan Mobley, man. Like, this dude can
Yep.
play. He reminds me of a better shooting Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, he has that type of play style, like 7 feet tall, can dribble, can rebound, can shoot, like he can do it all, and he just has a very he acts way older than he is as a freshman. And his brother Isaiah has been playing really well too. First meeting between these two, USC controlled it, 14-point win. USC, you said defense, so good at field goal percentage or holding opponents to low field goals, 38% on defense. Rebounding margin, USC +7, Oregon only +1. USC does not rely on the three. They shoot high percentage shots down low. They get to the free throw line 14. They make 14 free throws a game. In Oregon, only 11. I just think there's too many advantages not to take USC here because both teams are experienced. You have one freshman in Isaiah or in Evan Mobley, and the rest are sophomore to seniors who have been in spots in big games in their careers. In Oregon's the same way. You got Duarte and all the guys. Like, they're both very experienced. They're both hot. You got to take in that matchup the better defensive and rebounding team, and it's not even close. You see USC run Kansas on the boards offensively and defensively. I just think USC money line. I think it's moved a little bit. It's somewhere in between 135, 140. I would take the 2.5, but there's too much value for me on USC money line at -135. So I know Canes is with me on the Mobley show. I think we're gonna go USC money line -135 is our best bet in this one. It should be a fantastic matchup though. Hopefully they keep the high pace scoring going between both teams. It'd be a great game to watch on Sunday. Anyways, I'm gonna let Canes run down our picks real quick for our best bets to recap it, and then we'll get out of here and talk to you guys again after this round.
All right. So my numbers might be a little bit off using different sites, but we got Oregon State starting it off +6.5 versus Loyola. Should cover that one. Then we got Baylor -6. I think it's somewhere around there versus Villanova on Saturday as well. Then we got Arkansas -11 against Oral Roberts. Syracuse +6, maybe to pull off the upset, maybe, not sure, but them definitely to cover the 6 points in that one. Next we got on Sunday Gonzaga -13.5 taking on Creighton. Then in one of the most anticipated matchups, Michigan taking on Florida State. We got Florida State covering the 3 points in that one. Second last game, we got Alabama taking on UCLA. Alabama should prevail in that one, covering the 6.5 points. And then finally, in the Pac-12 late night game, we got USC taking on Oregon, and we like USC money line at -130, -140 in that range.
All right, guys. I mean, hey, long podcast for us. Like, we haven't been doing this long. We're on 43 minutes. I don't know. Like, we're gonna have to keep doing it. It's fun. I like it. It's fun. I mean,
It is fun
it's
getting on here chatting with you.
we're we do it every day, man. I mean, we talk all the time about sports, and we love sharing it with you guys. But anyways, feel free to tweet me or Canes, message us, whatever social media you guys have us on. Feel free to reach out, comment on the video. If you have any suggestions on what you guys want to hear from us, we'll be trying to break down March Madness as we go through it the next couple weeks. But after that, we'll be doing everything, any sport. We talk about it, we bet it, we do a little bit of everything. But, anyways, it's been good. It's been great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, please subscribe. We're trying to get that number up, get as many views as we can, spread our love, spread our bets. We're 32-19-1 ATS so far in the tournament. Up 13 units, guys. We're running the table right now. Let's go. Let's keep it rolling into the weekend. I've been too long on this outro. Fucking have a good day. We love you guys. Peace out.